Well, good afternoon, everyone. So good to be here with you. My name is Nora Frank Buckner, and I am the uh, Director of Food Sovereignty Programs with Tahoma Peak Solutions. I'm a Nez Perce tribal member and Klamath tribal descendant, and I'm calling in from Vancouver, Washington right now. And with me today is my colleague Elizabeth Campbell, and I'll let her introduce herself. And of course, like as soon as I hit record, I just have to say, my dog wants outside. So I'm going to let her introduce herself, go off mute, and I'll be right back.
Okay. Hi, good morning or good afternoon now, I suppose. My name's Elizabeth Campbell, and I come from the Campbell Big Smoke family from Eastern Washington. I'm Kalispell in Spokane, and I reside on the Squaxin Island and Skokomish tribal territories here in Western Washington now, near Shelton, and got a small organic farm here, Cedar Circle Farm, and just started working with Tahoma Peak Solutions as the food sovereignty specialist. And I'm excited to be here today and to get to know some of you. And for those of you that couldn't make it to this live event, I'm glad that it's being recorded so that it will be accessible to those later on. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Elizabeth. Just wanted to briefly go over today's agenda. We just briefly introduced ourselves. Feel free if you want to in the chat to introduce yourself, where you're calling in from, and maybe what you're most excited for this holiday season. Um, we'll do a brief overview of Tahoma Peak Solutions, who we are, what we do. Then do an overview of our one of our largest projects, Native Grown and Gathered, and then do an upcoming offerings piece, which will talk about the Business Builder grants, some training we're offering up for Native businesses, and the Native Food Expo, which is super exciting. One of the highlights, I think, of the project. We'll also just end with a quick Q&A section as well, and feel free to enter questions in the chat box as well. Just pulling up 1 second. Sorry, I'm trying to like manage two different things at once, which is difficult. Okay. Moving on. So just a quick overview of who we are as Tahoma Peak Solutions. We're a Native woman-owned consulting firm focused on transforming food systems, driving meaningful communications, and fostering education grounded in Indigenous knowledge. Our mission at Tahoma Peak Solutions is that we believe in the power of storytelling. Our foundation is rooted in this ancestral tradition. It's how our cultures have passed down knowledge for generations. And we're really passionate about driving solutions that honor our Indigenous heritage, but we understand that every community story is unique. So our mission is really to listen, to connect, and to help solve systemic challenges in food systems and education and communications together. We offer a variety of services. We've kind of broken down into three buckets to think about. So storytelling, problem solving, and cultural education. So that storytelling piece is really like blending cultural insight with innovative approaches to amplify voices and foster meaningful connections and drive impactful community engagement. And we do that through things like strategic communications, media production, and cultural consultation. We do content creation, including social media, video production, website design, and campaign branding. For problem solving, that really incorporates kind of our collaboration and inclusivity. And inclusivity is a core value at Tahoma Peak Solutions, and we don't just believe in it, but we really try to truly operationalize that. And so We provide things like cultural competency training in Indian country to our non-Indigenous ally organizations to really help them truly engage in meaningful ways with our Native communities and other Native organizations. And we also provide things around convening and facilitation and collaborative partnerships. For cultural education within food systems, so for us, obviously, like food is more than just sustenance. It's a connection to who we are and or who we are, but where we also come from. Our work in Indigenous food systems is dedicated to rekindling those connections by convening our partners, facilitating gatherings, sharing knowledge, and we also offer that cultural education piece in traditional foods and plants to our Native communities and to close Native partners. And we try to help our communities reclaim their sovereignty over their food sources. So it's a variety, it's a lot of different skill sets that we bring together as a team, but it's really coming together, and we're just really excited to be able to partner with organizations like Colorado State University and Oregon State University in this really large movement around the regional food business centers too. And today we are highlighting one of our larger projects at the moment called Native Grown and Gathered. And it's an example of how we are utilizing these collaborative efforts to empower Native people and communities by creating networks that are essential for food sovereignty. So I'm going to briefly go through some of the highlights in the final report that we've compiled from a needs and opportunities assessment that we did earlier this year in partnership with the Regional Food Business Center. So for a little bit of background, Native Grown and Gathered began as a regional initiative in Washington in collaboration with Feed 7 Generations and the city of Seattle. It focuses on connecting Native food producers with Native consumers to strengthen local food systems. And the goal was really to seek to understand the distinct needs of our Native food producers from Washington State in particular. And then we were able to partner with the Northwest Rocky Mountain Regional Food Business Center to expand that even further to Idaho, Oregon, Montana, Colorado, and Wyoming. And I don't know why our little logo just isn't on my screen, it's not showing up, but pretend you see a Native Grown and Gathered logo there. So some of the methodology behind our project is we focused on centering the voices and experiences of the Native food and farm businesses across those two regions. Our approach was intended to be inclusive and participatory and ensuring that we're really getting at the heart of what the needs and opportunities were for these food producers. And so we began with stakeholder engagement, recruiting a diverse group of those food and farm entrepreneurs and businesses, reaching out to them, kind of using snowball sampling, like just with, connections and natural networks within the regions. And then leveraging those partnerships with other Native-led organizations. We referred to additional producers within the networks and conducted our own online research to really try and find those that maybe were more prominent online, had their own websites or social media accounts. But sometimes it was just word of mouth. And then once those producers were identified, then we connected directly with them through email, through phone to schedule those interviews at convenience and really just prioritizing, at their comfort level and with their schedule. Our primary method of collecting data really involved those structured interviews, and we conducted about 44 different interviews across the regions, which is a small sample size, but those interviews would last 45 minutes to an hour. just depended. And the conversations really explored topics surrounding like business operations, cultural practices that influence their business models, challenges in accessing funding and opportunities for growth. We tried to respect cultural protocol by allowing our participants to skip any questions that they wanted to and to share stories in their own words, and recognizing the importance of listening. And so for those that did complete the interviews with us, we did provide a honorarium for their time. And then we moved into our data analysis, which focused on, diving deeper into both qualitative and quantitative data. So the qualitative piece, going back through all of those transcripts and pulling key themes and like key shared experiences. And then also the quantitative stuff of just like basic, like who they are, where they're from, what type of business do they run. Finally, we put all of that into a lovely report, which you can find on our Native Grown and Gathered website, which I'll bring up in just a little bit, but it really highlights those key themes, those insights, and actionable recommendations for folks like community organizations or policymakers and for funders. And it's really helping us catalyze our support and our project moving forward in how we design both Business Builder grants and also this food expo that we'll talk about. I do want to mention that there is some limitation to, this process that we did in terms of it being such a small sample size that we had, and also that when addressing the diversity of Native-owned food and agricultural businesses, that this is really just a snapshot. We have a very vast region that we were working through, like even within just say Washington State. It's going to look a lot different for our food and farm businesses or our seafood enterprises over here in the Puget Sound versus what, our folks over on the Spokane or Colville Reservation are facing with their food system work. And so I just wanted to say that this spans diverse landscapes as well as very diverse tribal affiliations, cultural practices, values, and business models. So 44 businesses participated in that assessment with a diverse range of products and services that reflect that varied landscapes that I was talking about. So we had folks that were like mixed vegetable farms and gardens, bison and cattle ranches, egg cooperatives and poultry farms, seafood operations such as like salmon or sturgeon fishers. We had herbalists and apothecaries, and also personal chefs, catering businesses, prepared meal services, food trucks, and also a trading post. We also did include a small number of producers who are hunting, gathering, and fishing, and it's really important for us to note that the assessment does not fully reflect, I think, the significance of those types of traditional practices, but they're essential to advancing food sovereignty. One question that we did ask all 44 of these businesses was just kind of like a open-ended question asking to report their role within the food system. And the data really highlighted a strong involvement in things like that farming, the gardening, and the herbal and medicine making. So that's all in the report. So if you wanted to take a deeper dive into that snapshot and just see what that says, I highly encourage you to go onto our website and look for that. Another important thing I wanted to bring up was that during the interview, we did ask what these producers were most proud of about their businesses, and what they shared were reflections rooted in their values. So they really spoke about inspiring Native youth, creating safe and welcoming spaces that reflect their culture, contributing to economic development within their community. And one major theme was how proud they were that their businesses act as platforms to advance food sovereignty efforts. So this quote here is from Darcy Fisher, who is the co-owner of Keepers of the Season, who runs their business with their partner Jenny out of Arley, Montana, on the Flathead Reservation. And their business makes a variety of traditional foods and wellness products. And Darcy shared that what we do as a people is art, whether it's our food, whether it's our products, our clothes, our songs. Food sovereignty could be that pathway. It feeds the heart, it feeds the soul, it feeds the arc that is indigenous made. And I just thought that was such a beautiful quote. And I love to include it in the presentations that we give about this project in particular. So this is a needs and opportunities section of the assessment, and we did ask to identify areas where like technical assistance, training, and USDA funding could best support their businesses. And I hope you do not hear my dog barking. So we'll start with business expansion goals in particular, and all of the producers who were interviewed expressed this desire to expand their business with specific goals depending on their current access and infrastructure. So key areas of growth included developing new value-added products. So items such as bison meat or jerky, freeze-dried goods, canned fish, and other items to increase their profitability, but also to extend shelf life. Acquiring delivery vehicles with cold storage was huge to improve transportation logistics and reach more community members. There was one producer who did receive a value-added grant for like a refrigerated van for transporting their product. And their goal was hopefully to expand that distribution to other reservations in the Northwest as part of their business model, for example. So going beyond their own reservation and starting to really do some of that intertribal work there. Securing additional contracts, so contracts with institutions such as hunger relief organizations, schools, and hospitals. Expanding e-commerce, so developing online platforms for, online sales or inventory management to reach a broader market and broader community. Building on-farm infrastructure, so constructing commercial kitchens and storage facilities, particularly for operations on reservations. And brick and mortar expansion, so establishing new restaurants or storefronts to enhance their retail presence, and brand recognition. And also establishing nonprofit entities, so creating nonprofit entities as a branch of their business so that they can access grants, but also support community-driven efforts that strengthen food sovereignty initiatives. So when discussing expansion plans, producers consistently linked their goals to their unique stories and to their values, with a shared emphasis, though, on growing to a size that really allows them to continue to support community first. That's always something that's been a key theme when talking to Native producers, is feeding community first is their primary goal. Some of the key training topics that arise were around commercial kitchen operations. So regulations and security funding for developing on-farm or mobile commercial kitchens. Also grant readiness training, really training in how to find these USDA grants, whether to know they are eligible for certain grants, and just kind of navigating the waters through federal granting itself and just being ready for that. Direct contracts, again, securing training and establishing how to do that, or how to do forward contracts with organizations like those hospitals or hunger relief orgs. And then human resources management training was another one, to provide producers with training and knowledge to effectively manage staff or to meet certain labor regulations, particularly those with farms. And then increasing digital presence. So training in website development was at like 74% were interested in that, or digital marketing. There was like almost 60% of them were interested in that. And similar with social media management. And that included some things like e-commerce training as well, and how to manage that online. So a lot of opportunity here. We're just seeing more and more opportunity of how best to support these small businesses. And hopefully we can start addressing some of these through the work we're doing with the Regional Food Business Center. There was a theme around producers expressing concerns that training sessions and seminars might not be efficient, especially if they interfere with their daily operations and production. So they really expressed a preference to learning by doing, right? So favoring being like the practical hands-on experiences to integrate those new skills into their workflow with minimal downtime. So one producer shared that training sessions that require also like a lot of upfront cost and time away from their business meant, time away from their business. And it's really hard to do that, or at least it's hard to justify that if it's going to take them away for too long. They did emphasize that training that includes networking or opportunities like product soft launches or launch parties would be more beneficial and aligned with their entrepreneurial goals. And we can talk more about that type of stuff with our food expo. As it relates to the business builder grants, which we'll talk about later, I think it's also important to note that this was a preferred approach, but doesn't mean like native producers weren't interested in other relevant training, but just like really making it hands-on, really making it accessible and not too, time intensive because they're busy, like all of us, right? Make sure I'm on the right page. Yeah. So business management and planning, 62% responded that support for business management and planning is important to their goals. A key need was identified specifically with tax preparation, bookkeeping, and record keeping. And that they just find it difficult. It's difficult to find service providers, and expertise in this particular work when it comes to food and agriculture businesses. So the more we can try and connect, technical assistance folks to native producers, I think the more helpful that would be. There was also comments around specifically like quality technical assistance. And I think it's important to acknowledge that when we're talking also about quality technical assistance, it means delivering it in a way that's culturally relevant to native businesses. So something that's come up often is sometimes we don't, when it comes to like business expansion in particular, it doesn't always mean just financially. Sometimes that means the more opportunity to provide food to community or being able to donate certain products to community or to ceremony is also an expansion goal for folks, and oftentimes more so important. So just wanted to put a plug in there for that. Lots of key equipment and infrastructure needs that really varied across the board in terms of what they cost. I don't think this is anything surprising to many of you on the call today. Yeah, so I don't want to go too deep into that. It's pretty similar across the board, I think, in terms of needs. In terms of the USDA barriers and some opportunities, as one of the most significant barriers for folks was lack of awareness about relevant programs. 70% of the respondents were unaware of any relevant USDA grant opportunities. Many of them, those particularly within food and beverage industry, did not think that they were qualified. And that there's this STEM also stems from a belief that USDA grants and loans are primarily designed for nonprofit or tribal government when you're specifically talking about supporting Native entrepreneurs. So there's this like misconception there for some of those programs or what they're eligible for. Some of the other things that were discussed is one producer questioned how USDA grants or loans would be relevant to their food and beverage operation, and also how it may or may not support food sovereignty in general. There's this disconnect between like indigenous values and contributing to some of that reluctance, right? So just seeing like this misalignment in values. There was also some reports of what felt to folks as discrimination at USD offices when folks have gone in for technical assistance help. And, it varies from state to state, office to office, program to program. So it really, I think, is like an individual level experience. And so it just depends. Other things that were popping up were like the reimbursement process being seen as too risky for small scale producers operating on really tight margins. And then, yeah, I think I already mentioned the eligibility piece there. But despite, these barriers, it's important that, producers indicated that they would likely apply for grants and loans if they were better informed about the available opportunities through that proactive outreach. And so that's some of the work that we could do as Tahoma Peak Solutions. I think we're well suited as the Regional Food Business Center to help kind of navigate some of those waters. And we're kind of trying to build that into our business builder grants as well. And just like how to be grant or to provide some services around grant readiness. Excuse me. What else to say about this? I think I've kind of said it. Okay, so next I want to jump in to our next steps and future opportunities and our partnerships. So our upcoming work really focuses on several key initiatives around supporting Native food and farm businesses to really help build up capacity across our region. So first, we're really excited to announce that we did launch the website directory in November of 2024, so just last month, which does include a Native food and farm business directory. It includes a directory list and a directory map. Folks can also navigate to this website to get listed. So if there are, Native food and farm businesses out there that have not yet been included, they can send us a form to get listed. And it includes a tribal nonprofit directory as well. So we do include some of the larger nonprofits, tribally led nonprofits that we know of that support food sovereignty efforts, and as well as technical assistance. And we've kind of curated some resources and opportunities, but really at this point trying to highlight the work we're doing within the Regional Food Business Center and like what's next to come. Folks, whether you're a Native-owned business or you're a partner organization, an ally organization, et cetera, you can sign up for our listserv, and we will try to keep people apprised of our upcoming offerings around trainings and workshops, our business builder grants, our food expo, you name it. So that's the place to sign up for that. The website is www.nativegrownandgathered.com. Maybe someone could plop that into the chat if you wanted to give it a look. Next, we're in the early stages of developing our business builder grants with more details to come soon. We're still kind of going through an approval process right now with the USDA and the center. And so we're just really trying to formulate like what are our solid next steps. So we were really excited to partner with Sister Sky Inc., which is also a Native woman owned business out of Washington, and they will deliver their native business canvas tool training to a set of like 10 to 15 native farmer food businesses participating in Native Grown and Gathered. And then upon like successful completion of the training program, then the participants can apply for their non-competitive grant, which will release by early or later spring, early summer. And then all part of all of that is after the training and after applying for some of these non-competitive grants, we'll work with folks to become trade show ready and do some marketing with them. Maybe that's a rebrand or a refresh at least, and get them all the things needed to be trade show ready for our upcoming Native Grown and Gathered Food Expo, which brings me to this page, which I'm super excited about. And it's really a goal for us to create this platform for Native food and farm entrepreneurs with low barriers to entry to really uplift their visibility and their networking power. So we'll offer some of these key features. Oh, I just want to also mention we're holding a tentative date right now. So October 1st through 3rd, and our location will be the Bell Harbor in Seattle, Washington. But we'll do an official save the dates by the new year, or not by the new year, but right after the new year. We have our final details figured out. Some of those key features we really want to offer at this food expo, again, is that inclusive trade show and marketplace that will be showcasing these businesses, offer up some workshops and trainings and offering some essential skill developments. We're going to offer culinary demonstrations or restaurant takeovers, cultural performances, business to business opportunities, and networking. And really, we want to facilitate that direct connection with potential buyers, partners, and like-minded entrepreneurs. And I do want to pause. I've been talking, but I do want to pause and ask Elizabeth if there's anything you wanted to add or just some excitement around the Food Expo as someone who's been to market and has been a vendor themselves, or yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I am just so excited about this, you guys. I have been, yeah, doing a lot of networking. We went to the Indian Agriculture Conference last week and have just been telling everybody about it. I'm really excited for this expo. And like Nora said, we don't really have the final date, but I was like, let's put it in there. And if things change, we'll say, hey, this has changed, but we want you to hold space. For this fall to come check it out. And the venue is beautiful. We went and toured the location a couple weeks ago, and I'm really excited about it. I have done several little farmers markets. I participated in the Shelton Farmers Market for many years, which is near my home, and over in Great View as well, over at the Hartstein Island Farmers Market. And I managed the Shelton Farmers Market for a couple years, and just love these kinds of events. And I'm excited about all the opportunities for people to, make things and participate in these live demonstrations and taste things. Yeah, I'm really jazzed about this. And just like I said, just jumping in here, I haven't even been working as the food sovereignty specialist with Tahoma Peak for a full month yet, but I am all in and I'm really excited.
Yay! Thanks, Elizabeth. So she's officially been with Tahoma Peak, yeah, for just a little over a month maybe, but really has worked with, the likes of Valerie Segrist and Elise Crone for over 15 years. And so definitely a huge mentor in this field of all things small producer focused, I think. So we're really excited to announce this. We really hope you're able to join us and be a part of this. It's really situated in the heart of, Seattle and traditional territories of the tribes in the Puget Sound area. And that's usually the time too of when the Muckleshoot tribal fishermen are out there placing their nets. And, there's this beautiful story that can be told within this space too. And reclaiming space in Seattle and highlighting our native producers. I also think it's just a note too, there's a lot of work around values-based food purchasing happening at the city of Seattle. And so I know they're really jazzed and excited to see like how they can support our Native entrepreneurs in purchasing through their institutions as well. So great opportunity. My screen is blank. How about for you?
Yeah, that's
Is
what we see
it?
too.
Well, that's super rude. One second.
I did have one other question. So you
Yeah.
said you're providing some technical assistance if we have Native American businesses that want to prepare for the show, but then
Mhm.
are there, I didn't quite catch if there's resources to help them either get to the show and or if one of the things they discover through your TA is that they maybe should rethink packaging or product
Mhm.
formulation. Is that one way they can use some of the Biz Builder grants, or is that something you're still muddling
Yes.
over?
I mean, I think yes, and I think we want to think through all of those pieces. I've already heard from other partners within the business center who can offer some of those services, especially around packaging or, setting up your space. And I think it's one part we could provide some of that TA, but some of it we would maybe need to partner. And of course, with getting there, I want to make sure there's funds uh, to get folks there with, no need to cover their travel, to cover any sort of supplies that might be needed too. So um, those are the types of things we're kind of muddling over and considering, and which leads me to this page, which hopefully, I mean, you're seeing the background of my my whole Canva, so I apologize for that, but I hope you can see this page. It is on our website, the Expo sponsorship. This is really like we need sponsors to help cover some of these costs. Like this is um, uh, going to be a really huge event, and there's really some great opportunities for folks to support this. And part of that could be supporting some travel scholarships. Um, and I really hope you do not hear my dog now. She's going crazy. But if you do go to our website, well, my pictures aren't showing up now, but if you go to our website, you click on, actually, hold on. If I go to, do you see the Native Grown and Gathered website now, or is it still on Canva?
We see your website, Native Grown and Gathered.
Yay, perfect. So if you do go to their website, click on Food Expo, scroll on down, tells you why you should attend, what to expect. But down here on Expo sponsorship, we talk about the importance of why we need your sponsorship. There will be some activation points too that folks might be interested in sponsoring. Like maybe you want to sponsor one of our keynotes. Perhaps you want to support a lunch, or perhaps you want to support a wellness section or youth engagement. We would do plan to have youth come to this event as well. So maybe there's some activation points that align better with your organization. But if you do go down to sponsorship levels, we have different levels that you can click on, and it will tell you all the things, that can come with your sponsorship. We'll have a official sponsorship packet available next month. So I can also just send that out and have that as a resource for folks as well. All right, let's see. And I just want to end before we open it up for Q&A, that growing businesses to advance food sovereignty. So this is another quote from Bridget McConville of Salmon King Fisheries, and that she says, "My goal is to create something that all 4 tribes can be happy about, and that we're doing something good for the people. It's not always about money. It's about eating really good food, enjoying the company with that food, and giving it as a gift." So I just really love to end on that. That's a reminder that it's not always about the money, but it's really about feeding people and feeding the spirit. So with that, I will finally pause and open it up for any questions or comments or just anything anyone might have. I'll stop share so we can see each other.
Great. Lauren, you should go ahead. Your hand's up.
Yeah, sorry, I lost my voice last night and it's not really back yet, but Nora, I was just curious if you had talked yet to our Washington team, given that, you know, they may have some sponsorship ideas and this may fit in with some of the kind of programming that they're doing. And it might not be through the Washington state team of the RFBC. It might even just be straight through WSDA.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on?
Yeah. No, that's a great suggestion. I think we've been kind of waiting until we could say, here are the dates.
Of course.
This is the solid location. Here's our packet. So yes and no, I think they're aware of that. It's like rumblings of something's happening, whether that's through our, RFBC partners or other. In the city of Seattle, they are interested as well as being a sponsor just through the values-based food purchasing work, just to see like part of their implementation too. And so yeah, I think there's some excitement there, which is great.
And there's an opportunity to bring in people who may never have met you before and, you know, support. So that's awesome. And my second question, I don't know, Martha put this in the chat, but how many producers do you think could be accommodated at the trade show?
Right. Beyond the 15 that would be in our cohort, we're hoping at least 50 producers would be
cool.
there. So, and in addition to that, also having space for other vendors that are technical assistance providers that could, be potential, some of that business to business stuff. So if you're a potential packaging company, maybe there's opportunity for hosting too, so that, the Native entrepreneurs have opportunity to kind of shop around there as well. So, yeah, I think there's great networking opportunities here.
I was wondering, Nora, if that's kind of what you're thinking of, that maybe there would be technical assistance providers at the trade show as well, would you then like ask questions on the registration so you could kind of make sure that you have some of those TA providers who would be really helpful for the producers who would be coming?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea and something we've been talking about of also, just the wide range of producers that we have, where we have really small, either, through this cohort could be potentially brand new or really small producers who want to stay pretty local, and that's, small market versus, Yakima Nation Farms, who's a lot larger and has, larger contracts with places like New Seasons, who might be ready for something like, I'm just totally making this up, but like something like a Costco contract or something. So we're thinking about how do we also tier that so that, those TA providers or, potential contracts could focus on the right sized business, I guess, too, and just like how to navigate that too. So I don't know, Elizabeth, did you have thoughts or anything to add there?
Well, just that this is something that we have been discussing and we're not exactly sure yet how the layout is, but we were thinking maybe we would have, different sections, right? Like over here is for all the TA kind of booths. Over here is going to be more of your chef demonstration areas. We would have, vendors kind of in a separate area. But we haven't fully mapped it out yet. We're still kind of working out the final details, as she mentioned, on the contract, and then we'll start kind of planning the space and figuring out how we're going to piece it all together. But yeah, these are great questions, and we welcome any advice that you guys might have too. So
any advice is great.
Well, I think we'll talk more about this, Nora, as we put the Business Builder program together. But I think that pairing the Sister Sky Native Business Canvas training with the trade show preparation and having those two things lead to these are the funds we're going to apply for the Business Builder grant are really valuable. And to have you that pairing in there. And we have to figure out the timing of it so they have the funding when they need it. And I was able to reschedule my call with the Melissa Curley of Akipton because there's some possibility of how we could do bridge loans. But I don't know the opportunity for that.
Yeah,
There's a lot of
that's a
detail.
whole. Yeah, keep me posted yeah, because they're also they're a partner in you probably know this though, Intertribal Food
Right.
Business Center. So it would be great to know that too. And in our directory, I did go through as much as I could. I'm sure there's plenty missing, but connecting native CDFIs and other loan lending companies that do some of that bridge gap funding too, because as you probably saw in all the report and all of the data is there are things that, our grants can't touch. Like, so, yeah, there's plenty of room for bridge gap funding for things.
Well,
Yeah.
and Nora and Lauren both, would the bridge funding also be like if someone were to get equipment, like procure a piece of equipment while they're waiting for the reimbursement? Is it for that purpose as well?
Well, with equipment, if they give us a bid or a signed quote, we can get them the funding for it.
Okay.
Yeah. This money is very complicated, this AMS money, and it gets more complicated the more we learn about it. And right before I came here,
Yeah.
I was in the middle of a big training about how it's so complicated, but we are committed to working with you to try to get it to your entrepreneurs in as simple a way as possible to focus on their needs rather than the complication. Our eyes may get all cross-eyed, but
Exactly. So the more we can help just navigate that for folks, the better it would be. And I guess that's our role. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's good to see you. I was like looking at who was in the room in here, the virtual room. So good to see all of you and lots of Washington folks, which is great because our food expo is going to be held in Washington.
thank you, Nora, for doing this update. I know attendance is light, but I know people are good about watching recordings, and I know everyone really wants to keep posted on what you all are doing. I just think there's so much interest among all of our regional partners.
Yeah, this will be such a handy resource when people have questions. We literally just got an email today. I know I didn't catch them in time, but I emailed them an hour ago and said, "Oh, we have a webinar," but now we don't have to fret because even if they weren't here, we can have them watch. But that was the last question I had. Mariah, I'm
We've
sorry I
got a-
jumped in front of you, but oddly, that Takabi restaurant we went to when we had the retreat here last year, they just found us now and reached out. How do you see best approaching you guys for the support if someone like that who could be a second level tier change agent who wants to figure out how they can grow because they're sourcing from that? Do you guys feel like you have a pathway, or should we just refer them to you and see if you can help them noodle on how you can best help them growing? It felt like it was less about getting connected to the supply chains they needed to source stuff and more about how do they navigate trying to compete in a national market if they expand outside of the Denver area. Is that something you guys have thought about, or is it somewhere we brainstorm on that together about finding some expertise from the restaurant field and then you guys having expertise from how to put the value proposition out there about them being this new values aligned business that you guys can help them reach into the audience of? Or think about it. It doesn't need an answer today, but I wasn't sure how to respond to them. And I think Libby feels the same way, but we would love your guidance without making you feel like it's your job to take them over, because it's almost like restaurant franchise expertise maybe none of us has, but it still should be framed with some context of like why they won't want to do business the same way everybody does business, perhaps. So maybe keep you in that conversation, or what makes sense?
Yeah, I think let's get looped into the conversation. I think Elizabeth, you probably have to look. I know you're in the restaurant field, but I don't think you've owned a restaurant. I don't know, or big marketplace. But it would be great to just even, yeah, have that conversation because our Valerie Seagrass is talking to Sean Sherman. They're great friends. He has his national restaurant business in Indigenous Food Labs and is interested in coming to the expo. And so, is there opportunity for some of that mentorship happening at the expo? I'm not sure yet. So I think it'd still just be a great conversation to hold. And yeah, so no answer, but love to get connected. Mariah, did you?
Hi. Sorry, I just realized we were off the video this whole time, just like a blank screen. Thanks so much for this. We have been so excited about this coming. Congratulations on the launch of the directory. It's a beautiful site, really excited about it. I had one
Thank
just
you.
question, which was I saw on the list of things that have launched with the directory, one of them was a listserv. Has that gone out? And is that a collection of all not a collection, but is that basically aligned to all of the producers that are listed or their nonprofits there?
Yeah, so we haven't like officially launched a newsletter quite yet. So that's kind of our next phase into our new year is we have the listserv and you can go, like you scroll down to our contact form down below. It says subscribe and you just enter your email and what you'd like to be subscribed to because we have a Tahoma Peak newsletter that does go out. And then we'll have a Native Grown and Gathered newsletter, which we will keep both, those that are in the directory, and then those that are ally organizations or just partners, updated on what's happening with all these events. So I hope that answers your question. It's, yeah, a listserv of keeping the pulse on
Yeah.
what are all the happenings.
Yeah, that's good. Because in particular, we're planning a local food trade conference here in Seattle, and we've been connected for a while with Roma Jean from Feed 7 Generations. And so we are also having like an expo, and our hope was to see if Roma Jean could help do some outreach to producers to basically be at the trade show themselves as well. So I was just wondering if the listserv was a good vehicle for those kinds of opportunities to send through, or if it looks more like
Mhm.
one-on-one kind of outreach at this point.
Maybe I guess it depends on how soon you wanted to communicate that because I can't promise how soon we'll have the newsletter up and running. But because Feed 7 Generation is such a huge partner in all of this work, and we'll basically be running all of the sponsorships through Feed 7 Generations. They're kind of like the nonprofit arm to Tahoma Peak Solutions. And so, yeah, I'd say get if you have something for the newsletter, let's figure out how we can do that soon. But maybe in the meantime, just reach out to Roma Jean so she can at least start sending that out to her direct contacts and network.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
And when are
Yeah.
you planning your expo?
It's February 24th. It'll also be in Seattle. It's called Good Food Connections. I can drop the link in there. And actually,
Yes.
Roma Jean's going to be presenting on Native Grown and Gathered at the expo as well. So.
Oh, nice. Yay.
Well, thanks everybody for coming. If you saw some resources that you need to be reminded of, this will be posted on the, we'll send it to Tahoma Peak to post on their site as well, but it'll also be posted on our Northwest Rocky Mountain webpage for people who might want to peruse it. And again, we shared in the Native Grown and Gathered website in the chat box if you want to grab that quick as kind of the really big thing to be excited about. But also, we are trying to find a way to embed more of this information on our center website. But we'd always encourage you to just go to Native Grown and Gathered directly, where they'll always have the most up-to-date information. And again, if you know of someone who you wish they would have been here for this, we'll try to make this recording available within the next week, so you can just share it as something people can peruse. And then I assume Nora and Elizabeth, you guys are willing to field any questions. So perhaps when we post that, we'll also say for information ... and reference you guys as someone people can connect to for these exact type of questions we got today. So super excited that we're continuing to learn more. Thanks everybody for coming.